All right, so first I want to begin by explaining that relationships exist only between equals. When we engage in a relationship where one person feels better than the other person for any given reason, whether it be age, race, sexuality, whatever, the moment we tell ourselves that we're better than that other person is the moment that we are no longer in a relationship. We're in an entanglement. So when a man believes that he is better than a woman, and when the woman buys into that, or either person buys into that and doesn't see the relationship as equals, you've got a problem. The same exists with therapy. When a patient, a doctor doesn't see his patient as an equal, it doesn't mean that the doctor isn't more skilled at what he's doing and that the doctor's advice isn't sound and trustworthy. It means that that doesn't make him a better person or more than the other person. And if he sees himself as better than the other person, it's not a relationship, it's an entanglement. If a person has more money than other people and then therefore thinks he's better than his brothers, his sister, his parents, or friends because he has more money, and now he thinks he's better than them, it's no longer a relationship, it's an entanglement. If a man thinks that he is the man and therefore authority over the woman, then it's an entanglement, not a relationship. So first thing, this first premise is relationships exist between equals. Anything else is an entanglement. Okay, from that place, I want to also bring to the table that what we've been sold by Hollywood about relationships is what most of us strive to obtain. We've watched these movies, we've seen it over and over again. There's always this scenario where two people complete each other, they fall in love, they complete each other, and they live happily ever after. Well, this isn't reality. Doesn't mean we can't live happily ever after. What it means is when two broken people who are not happy in and of themselves come together expecting each other to make each other happy, it never works. There's this endless void within each individual that they try to fill through sex, through relationship, through all means of buying clothes and buying things and getting external validation and approval and everything else you can think of that can never ever fill that void that must be filled from within. Successful relationships don't exist between two people who came together to save each other or to be saved by the other. Successful relationships exist between two people who have made themselves whole and come together not expecting anything from each other, not needing anything from each other, being complete and whole within themselves, and there actually to give and to further enhance the other person's amazing life. So it's not, oh, I'm broken, I need someone. And women have been conditioned to wait for their knight in shining armor. And once their knight in shining armor shows up, then they'll be saved and they'll live happily ever after. And so women show up waiting and waiting, and then when they even do attract a man, they're constantly nagging and trying to control and get that person to be their knight in shining armor and save them, and it's absolute chaos and insanity. And then men try to be that knight in shining armor, or they go the other way and turn into a total player and just totally disregard you and treat you like crap, and then you got other issues. But when a person truly loves themselves and have done the work to get themselves to that place, it's easy for that person to love others and to show up as a whole person, and two whole people come together, and 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 11, because the sum of the parts is much greater, or sorry, the sum of the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. Much more can be created when two people are together as whole people in unison and in harmony, and when they've chosen to get out of drama and then channel that energy forward in an agreed upon co-creation. So imagine how much energy people spend on chaos and drama about their weight, about their body, about money, about sex, about their self-worth, about who said, he said, she said, about why didn't you do this to fill me up? Why didn't you do this to make me feel whole? Why didn't you do this to make me feel lovable? You. I was happy until you came along, and now you're to blame for my unhappiness. I'm the victim here. You did this to me. And you may not even have it, like me saying it like that may seem like, oh, I don't really do that, but I want you to look at the subtle ways that every one of us do this. And then I want you to consider how much of your energy is spent and consumed and invested every day in chaos in your own mind, in struggle, in suffering, in trying to figure out life, in not having a good time, and in not being of service, but questioning your self-worth, your self-value, questioning and blaming yourself and others, and doing all this other negative consumption of energy. How much of your energy, just tune in for a moment, is it 10%, 20%, 30%, 50, 60, 80, 90% of your energy? How much of your energy is consumed with one version of drama or another? And if you took responsibility for that energy and cleaned up your crap and came to a place of ease and flow, of love, of consciously flowing and channeling your creative energy to create what you most choose to create, versus playing the typical game of struggle, drama, chaos. And if you freed up all that energy from the chaos and the drama and channel it to that conscious creation, how much more could you create? And then if you had a partner who offset your weaknesses and brought joy and fulfillment and purpose to your life, how much more could you accomplish? So it's like you're climbing this mountain to this greatness of who you are at the top. And if you're climbing it all alone, the journey could be lonely, it could be limited, you could make more mistakes because you have less brains and resources. And if you had someone else there with you who had more resources, more knowledge, more ideas, more tools and food and different supplies and great input to help save you from taking stupid courses, then you would get up the mountain a lot quicker. And you would have a lot more enjoyable time. You could laugh and tease and stop and make love and share insights and just make the whole experience something much greater. So I share that in the context of romantic relationships, but all this is true in the context of all relationships. It's true in the context of business relationships and parenting and parent-child relationships. And it's true in our relationship with our Creator. The way we relate with ourselves is the way we relate with everybody and everything. So if you wonder why your God is a mean, vengeful God, don't be surprised that you've created Him in your image. That, Scripture said He created us in His image. We've done the most blasphemous thing in the world and created Him in our image and projected all our crap onto Him and made Him into the villains that we tend to be. So our relationship with ourselves becomes our relationship with our Creator and with our spouse and with the people we date and with our business partners and with our friends and with our clients and with our children and everything outside of us. It's just a reflection of the way we relate with ourselves, including even our technology and our cars and everything, our houses, everything. It's all just a relationship, and everything that's happening within all of that is just feedback as to how we're showing up in the world. So as we begin to grasp the drama triangle and the learning cycle and the shift and the drift and how to own our own energy and consciously choose what we're doing with that energy and channel it forward and then begin to relate in a healthy way, then what we can create is beyond what anything you've ever imagined. It's been what you imagined as a little girl or a little boy of happily ever after. It's that times 10. And it can't be taken away, because the problem with the I'm broken, you complete me scenario is when that person dies or leaves or cheats or does something you don't want them to do, you lose all your power and your happiness and your well-being, because you've based your foundation, you built what you consider to be a foundation on a sandy foundation versus a solid foundation. And what do I mean by this? Sandy foundation versus solid foundation. A person who is healthy enough to be in a healthy relationship is a person that doesn't base their happiness and well-being and success on anybody or anything outside of them. If you say, no, I'm happy, I'm confident, I got a great life, I'm confident, I'm solid, and I say, okay, that sounds great, everybody tends to think that, or many people tend to think that, but would you still be this confident if you got a call today and realized that all your money had been drained from your account and you wasn't going to get it back? Would you be this confident and certain and solid if you just got a call and found out that your spouse or lover was cheating on you, or had left you, or had died? Is your so-called confidence and happiness based on your children, your spouse, your bank account, your car, your house, your status in the community? Or do you have real self-confidence and self-love that would allow you to be truly happy whether you lost anything and everything, all of it? So you look at, Jesus. He's hanging on the cross, having lost everything, including having his life and his body on the line, and he still chooses a space of love ultimately. Could you be hanging on the cross with your body in that much excruciating pain and choose love and peace? If not, your so-called confidence and certainty and self-love is built on a sandy foundation, and it's affecting every relationship in your world. If you couldn't be starving to death in the middle of the Sahara Desert and be happy, then you're missing, so like you haven't done the inner piece that would allow you to do that. And you're built on a sandy foundation. If you can't, now of course you're going to feel feelings. My spouse dies, leaves, cheats. Am I going to feel feelings? You can count on it. But the difference is, what do I do next? Do I continue cycling vicious stories and fears and insecurities and traumas and spiral myself down into my own hell and abyss? Or do I acknowledge the feelings, flow through them, bring love to the unloved places, and ultimately come to a place of pure presence and power? And how quickly can I do that? Does it take me a year? Does it take me a week? Does it take me a day? Does it take me a month? Does it take me a decade? Does it take me a lifetime? Do I go through absolute hell in the journey? Or am I committed to sourcing my own love, sourcing my own well-being, sourcing my own experience, and being able to shift from the drift of all those destructive thoughts? If my technology was working, I'd draw you a graph right now, but it's not working. So, So I'm just going to let that be, and we'll catch that on another training sometime. So next I want to go into a thing called the 7 waves of relationship. And this is going to give us some context around what we've been told about what it means to be in a relationship and what Hollywood has sold us about meet the one and live happily ever after versus what relationship was really designed for. So let me pull this up in just a moment. And before I go there, I want you to consider this. We think we're going to meet the one and live happily ever after. If you walked into a room of thousands of people and you had all these options of people you could go talk to, connect with, date, get to know, and forge a relationship with, you will automatically be attracted to the person who will most be able to assist you in shifting and transforming your life and your world and healing the unhealed stuff in you. You think it's because of their looks, you think it's because of their magnificence, you think it's because of some other story you tell yourself inside. Many times you make it up that it's a sign from God, or it was serendipity, or they're a soulmate that you lost from a previous lifetime, and 100 other stories that people make up. But the bottom line is, energetically, you are attracted to the very person in the room who would most trigger your shit, most show you your unhealed stuff, and best mirror for you what needs and wants and is calling and crying out for love within you so that you can heal that, or ignore it, blame them, and continue on in your self-defeating cycles and patterns. So with that being said, relationship is an opportunity as a path to enlightenment. Relationship holds the potential to be a path, a primary path to enlightenment. If you receive the feedback, if you learn from the experience, if you see the mirror and what it's showing you about yourself. Okay, so let's pull up this waves of relationship thing I'm talking about. So we come in here, and in the first wave, essence is a... Oh, did I screen share? I didn't screen share. I'm over here pointing at a screen talking to myself. Donovan, will you let me know if you can see my screen? Verbally, because I can't see you right now.
Looks good.
Great, thank you. So right here is the first wave. And on this wave, what happens is essence is awakened. And when I talk about essence, what I mean is at the core of every person is beauty. At the core of every person is love. At the core of every person is light. And this amazing person, at the core of you is this beautiful, amazing being. And outside of that is personas and other fake stuff that's not really you, that you've come to believe is you. Due to traumas and past experiences, and you've taken on these patterns as survival mechanisms to cope with life and with your world. And so when we first meet the person that we think is the one, essence is awakened, meaning we see in them our greatness, remembering the quote that you've heard me say before, if you spot it, you've got it. So we walk in a room and what we see is this angel on the other side of the room. It's like the halos, the heavens open and the light shines down and we hear angels singing and they're just so beautiful and vibrant and amazing, and we're just certain that they're going to make us happy, like so happy and so full of joy, and we're going to live happily ever after. That person has got to be the one because I feel so much joy and aliveness right now. And the truth is all that we are feeling is that person is reflecting to us our greatness, our essence, the core of who we are, and we love that part of ourselves, and so we feel alive and magnificent around them. And then you'll see right here, it says, the question you can ask yourself in this phase is, what does an essence connection feel and look like? It's so much joy and flow and peace and spaciousness and creativity and aliveness and just looking forward to seeing each other. It's often been described as the honeymoon phase. Well, the honeymoon phase is nothing more than my greatness being awakened in me and mirrored to me by a person outside of me, and me seeing my greatness in them and thinking that I'm seeing just, oh, I found the one who's going to make me happily ever after. Well, then we move into phase number 2, where essence is obscured. What does this mean? It means, oh, some shit starts to get in the way and in between my view of this person's epicness, their beauty, their essence, my beauty, my essence. What is it? And all that it is basically the honeymoon phase is over, and now I'm starting to see, as I look into them, my mirror, the stuff about me that I don't love about myself. But the problem is, I don't realize it at first. I just think it's stuff in them that irritates me. It shows up as, man, why does he or she always do that? It's so annoying. And I start to see all these things that they do that I annoy myself with. And the victim would say that, he, she annoys me. The conscious creator who takes 100% responsibility would say, I annoy myself with, this issue. Or when she does that, I annoy myself by the way I'm organizing my thoughts and my beliefs and my stories around that. So in our language is an important key to this, our ability to create success in relationships is cleaning up our language to take 100% responsibility and stop placing the blame outside of us. Make a key note about that. One of the critical shifts in successful relationships is taking 100% responsibility. When we show up in relationship as 50-50, we're screwed. When we show up as 100-100, like I am 100% responsible for this relationship and all of the results that happen within it. And when both parties take that level of responsibility, both parties have the power to transform it and create what they really most want. Now, do not mistake the word responsibility with the word blame. In fact, please alleviate the word blame from your vocabulary altogether. When we talk about drama, there are always 3 roles that are played within any drama, and that is victim, villain, and hero. And blame is always from the villain position. So anytime you're asking, well, who's to blame for this? It's my fault, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's their fault. You are on the drama triangle. You are in drama. You are part of the problem. But when you take responsibility, it doesn't mean I'm to blame. It's completely different than that. It says, I contributed to creating this. This isn't what I want. How can I create what I really want? It has nothing to do with shame, guilt, or blame, or any of those lower frequency vibrational choices. So this phase of essence is obscured is where we start to see the things we don't like about the other person. And the question to ask in that phase is, what is your most common power struggle? So you think, what are the things we do to power struggle? We argue back and forth, and we repeat this pattern of trying to establish who's going to be in control with this issue. It might be sex, it might be money, maybe he or she wants more sex and the other one's withholding it or whatever, and you're doing this power struggle, and it's not even what either of you want, but it's just trying to maintain power within the relationship instead of getting real and authentic and implementing some new strategies and techniques and skill sets to create what you both really want. And at the end of the day, if you get honest, a lot of times people stick it in a box and say, you know, men like sex and women don't. This is bullshit. Men and women love sex. Men and women both love connection. And sex, when done authentically, is deep, powerful, passionate, loving connection. And the only reason why that goes away, you know, one of the false beliefs around relationships, there's, you know, last week we did money and everyone shared all these false beliefs around money. Same thing goes for relationships. Well, relationships are easy and then they get hard. Marriage is a struggle. And once you get married, then the sex goes away and it turns to shit and all this other stuff. All that is lies and myths. It does not have to be that way unless you choose and believe it so and keep repeating the patterns that create it so and keep doing the same thing over and over again expecting different results. So the reason why we go to power struggles is because someone's, you know, typically it boils down to people aren't doing what they love, they're not communicating authentically, they're not connecting, they're not resolving the issues, they're not learning to love themselves, they're not taking 100% responsibility, they're not listening worth the crap, they're blaming, they're not taking responsibility, and a bunch of other stuff. So then we move to the next phase, which is, it says dreaming. I like to call it asleep and dreaming. It's like, and the question is, what is the issue that recycles? And this phase is all about recycling the same patterns over and over again, not like realizing, basically when we're asleep and dreaming, we don't even realize that we're creating it. We're more in that phase of it's happening to me. Why do you keep doing this? You brought this up 100 times. We've already had this conversation over and over again. When are you going to get over this? When are you going to stop bringing this shit up? When are you just going to start doing this or stop doing that? Shit, right? So all this blame and attack and drama and just recycling and not doing anything to shift the issue, basically showing up as a victim, repeating the same patterns over and over again, expecting different results. That's the result of asleep and dreaming. And this is where most relationships end. They literally get to through three of the waves of relationship, and then stop, separate, create divorce, and then go recreate the same thing with someone else all over again, because the problem wasn't in the other person, it was always within them. And the problem could have always been resolved within them. But most people are not willing to take responsibility, they just want to blame someone else and play the victim game. So then if we're lucky enough to move from the phase of victimhood to creatorhood, we move into the next wave called awake and dreaming. This is where we're now aware. It's like, holy crap, I'm aware these patterns are recycling, and I'm aware that I'm a conscious creator and that I'm not a victim to life, but the patterns are still recycling and it's frustrating as hell. And I can see it happening right before my eyes, and I feel like I'm aware that I'm in a bad dream, but I just can't seem to wake up and shift the dream. And so the question here is, how is this familiar? What unarguable truth do you need to express? And what can you learn from this? So notice the questions here are getting more conscious and empowering to allow you to move forward. When I talk in my video about the 4 stages of life, I talk about, moving from life happens as me to life happens to me to life happens by me to life happens through me. Well, this is starting to move into the phase of life happens by me and towards the phase of life happens through me. And the more we practice these consciousness skills, and implement new ways of being and viewing life and implementing new skills and mindsets and strategies, then we start to create different results, and pretty soon they start to become second nature. We move on into more fulfilling waves of relationship. Now, most people think that, we see the first part, we come back to this essence is awakened. So you watch a Hollywood movie. They meet each other, they fall in love, and then the movie ends, which was this phase one. Well, there's 7 more phases after that. Hello? Like, who the hell was born already, like, totally have done all their work and, like, accomplished what they came to the planet to accomplish, and relationship is really the only path. How are you going to achieve enlightenment without relating to yourself, to God, to others? Where else is enlightenment obtained? It doesn't really happen. So the romantic relationship, probably the most important factor of the relationship or purpose of the relationship, is to help you achieve your greatest potential. More than falling in love, more than great sex, more than living happily ever after, more than growing old together and sitting on a porch swing or whatever. The most important purpose of your relationship is to help you become the greatest version of yourself. The rest of that's just icing on the cake. So Hollywood ends on step 1, and that's what we thought it was all about. If we met the right one and we're really nice, then we'll just live happily ever after. And if not, then we must have accidentally gotten the wrong one, and now we need to trade them in on a newer version, because maybe I just made a bad choice in the first place. It's got to be their fault, and if I just found the one again, then I could solve this problem. And then we go repeat, repeat, repeat until we take responsibility, wake the hell up, and do something different. Like, it's absolutely insanity for anyone to believe that they were born with the ability to thrive in relationships without investing in their skill sets and knowledge around understanding their mindsets and their communication skills, their listening skills, and all these other things. I've invested years upon years in understanding body language and tone and voice and inflections and gestures and communication and listening and psychology and all these things, and I'm still perfecting the art. And so for someone else out there to just assume that they can relate amazingly with just what they were handed and born into is as retarded as someone assuming that they can do brain surgery without going to medical school. It's that retarded. And retarded's probably not politically correct, but hey, neither am I. So in awakened dreaming, we start to learn new skill sets and mindsets and apply them, and we're still not out of the woods. It's still a pain in the ass. We're still seeing the patterns, but we're starting to apply new skill sets and mindsets, and we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And then we start to transition into the next wave, which is essence becomes permanent. That sounds cool, right? It's like we get to finally move back into where we started, where Hollywood left off, into this beautiful place where we're spending all of our time in essence with this person, not just alone, like, because it's one thing to be happy on your own, but imagine being at a state in your life that you can be in partnership with someone else and completely thrive and be alive and fully express yourself, fully know yourself, and operate with authenticity, full expression, full power, both of you in your magnificence, no one suppressing, no one withholding, no one being a doormat, no one being controlled or manipulated, no one sacrificing or compromising. And yes, some of the biggest lies and myths that have ever been told about relationships are around sacrifice and compromise. Those are the most bullshit, self-destructive patterns we've been sold over and over again. If you sacrifice and compromise, you have just created a lose-win scenario where you lose, they win, which isn't actually true because we are one. You are connected. When you lose, they lose. And you take that back to the drama triangle of victim, villain, and hero. When you say, okay, I'll sacrifice me for your win, you're saying, I will be the hero and sacrifice me for you. Well, what happens later? you automatically jump over to the villain square and say, you son of a bitch, I sacrificed myself for you last time. Now you owe it to me to do it for me this time. And you instantly feel entitled and enraged when they don't return the favor because you took a withdrawal out of your love tank as a sacrifice for them. Why take withdrawals when all you can do, like if you could go to the bank and you could arrange your life so that all you ever did was make deposits and live off the interest versus having to withdraw and overdraw the account, how awesome would that be? And when you look at relationships and how to make them successful, one of the fundamental principles is simply make more deposits than withdrawals. It's like going to the bank. Make more deposits than withdrawals. Whatever it takes to make more deposits than withdrawals, that will create a successful bank account, and that will create a successful relationship. And so every time you sacrifice yourself or compromise, you just made a withdrawal from your account that you will later want repaid for. So what if instead of living in an either-or world where you said, well, either I can have what I want or you can have what you want, you threw away the whole concept of either-or and adopted the concept of an and/both world where both parties always win and both parties can always have what they truly most want. No more sacrifice, no more compromise, finding and getting curious, and instead of believing, and when you find yourself ever in any area of life believing, I have this choice or that choice, it's either this or it's that, know that you are stuck in a persona, it's a lie, it's not the truth, and you're in your smallness right now. And instead, take a breath, move your body, get curious, and say, I know there are way more than two options right now. I know there are infinite options always. What are the rest of the infinite possibilities that are available to me that I could choose from? A classic example of this is if my wife and I wanted to go to the movie. We decided we're going to go out on a date night. And we said, okay, let's go to the movie. Why? Because a random thought entered one of our minds to go to the movie, and someone threw that in as a possibility. So then we think, yeah, we're going to the movie. Let's figure out what we want to watch. So we look it up and I find I want to watch this war movie, and she's like, no, I want to watch this love movie, romantic movie, and we've got a conflict. If I do want to watch the romantic movie, then great, let's watch it. We both want it. If I don't, and she don't want to watch the war movie, and either of us compromises, we've just created a future issue for ourselves. Now, did we actually want to go to a movie? Was that the purpose of the date night? No. The purpose of the date night was to connect, to enjoy each other, to enhance our connection, our love, all of that, right? So if we find that it would be a sellout for either of us to go to what the other person wanted to see, switch plans. Instead of thinking either we can go to the war movie or we can go to the love movie, say, okay, later you can go to the love movie with your girlfriends, or maybe tomorrow I will want to do that, but today I really don't want to do that. So what else could we do? Bowling, hiking, rock climbing, what else could we do? Knowing there's infinite possibilities, we don't settle, we don't sacrifice, we don't compromise. We search, we find the answers for the win-win so that we always create, both of us, making a deposit. Why not have the date night be a deposit for both of us when we can create it that way, just by our choices versus having anyone have to make a withdrawal? Okay, so essence becomes permanent. The question behind this wave is, what commitment do you need to renew? And I'm going to change that word need to get to or want to, or what commitment would best serve you to renew. So what this means is just keep recommitting. Recommit to seeing your partner as your ally versus your enemy. Recommit to continuing to work together as allies and communicate 100% authentically and 100% transparency, and taking 100% responsibility and speaking the truth and being a space of love and listening consciously and all these other things that got you there. Just keep recommitting to those things so that you stay there. The next one is being truthful, expressing your full creativity. So expressing your full creativity, in order for two people to be in their essence, they want to be in their zone of genius, doing what they love and loving their life. Otherwise, if neither of them are loving their life, there's this quote that says, if everyone were doing what they love, we would have world peace. And if I were to give you an example of that, it's like this. Picture two scenarios. One is a husband-wife combo or a relationship combo where two people are going out and both working jobs that they hate, and then coming home and complaining to each other about how miserable they are. And then how the other person's like, well, you have no idea how hard it was for me. I've been stuck with these miserable kids all day, or I've been doing my crappy job, and they're sitting complaining about how miserable their life is, versus two people who went out and did what they loved, had a blast, made a lot of money doing it, were totally fulfilled, and then came home and celebrated with each other. They said, you know, today was epic for me. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. Today was epic for me too. Awesome. Let's celebrate. Literally every day being a celebration. Literally every day being like Christmas. Why? Because you can. Because it's a conscious choice to create your life that way instead of reperpetrating and replaying out the bullshit, negative, self-limiting stories and limitations and struggles that the majority of the world have accepted as reality. It's not reality. It's a choice. You can create heaven on earth. So when two people are expressing their full creativity, doing what they love every day, waking up, creating whatever they consciously choose to create, rather than subconsciously repeating self-defeating, destructive, dramatic, struggling results, clearing up all that crap and channeling all their energy towards how much love and joy they can enhance and expand within themselves and out into the world with others. It's a whole nother world. And then the next question becomes, what do you really want? And now what do you want? And now what do you want? And today what do I want? And today what do I want? Versus all the other drama and chaos. So now we move into birth of co-creation. Well, co-creation, this phase, it's like, hey, what can we create together? This is the 1 + 1 = 11 that I was telling you about. It's saying, you know, what do you need to do right now to support the full expression and creativity in your relationship? So asking, like, what more could we create together as a couple? What would be fun for us to do together and express in the world that would have you in your zone of genius and me in my zone of genius and us making our maximum contribution, being deeply fulfilled with joy and love and creativity, and waking up every day from that place and co-creating together, each of us in our zone of genius, and delegating out the things that we don't love to do, having those handled, and just every day, all day, doing what we love together. Why not? Why not? Then we move into the final stage and wave, which is living in co-creation. This is, we're permanently in essence. We're co-creating this amazing creations in the world. We've combined the best of who we are. Some of my mentors, it's like the husband is an author and the wife is a coach. The husband likes to write and occasionally speak on large stages. The wife likes to facilitate live trainings and run masterminds. And they collaborate and their works enhance each other, but they both do the things that they love to do, and they delegate out the other things, and it's a blast. And it can look 100 infinite ways. It's just a combo of who you are, who the other person is, and what you're choosing to do with that. And the question in living in co-creation is, how much love and appreciation can I give and receive? That's it. With myself, with my partner, with everyone in the world, how much love can I give and receive? Invite everyone to take a breath. I'm hurling a lot of information at you, and we have only scratched the surface. Literally, we are on the Titanic and we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg yet. All I've done is said, there's a guy up there that said, iceberg, straight ahead. That's all. That's where we're at. We haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. We've just identified that there's an iceberg. Lots of smiles. Okay, so so talking waves of relationship and realizing we bought into this myth of knight in shining armor and meet the one and live happily ever after on whatever level we bought into it on. And knowing that there's this so much more to this journey we call relationships, and that there is a deep meaning and purpose to it, to heal us and to bring us to this whole place. And it doesn't mean you have to be in a romantic relationship to get that. You can create that with your parents, whether dead or alive, with your siblings, with your friends, with your mastermind family. You just start creating authentic, epic, vulnerable, real, transparent relationships where you're fully expressing yourself and exposing yourself and utilizing all the feedback of everything that comes back around that, not to fuel what's wrong with you, but to help you see what's right with you and to tap into that essence and love all the unloved places in yourself so that you remember the wholeness that you've always been. You are whole and complete right now. The essence of who you are is whole and complete right now, always was, is now, and always will be. The rest of it is just a bunch of bullshit you've made up about who you think you are. Take that in for a minute. So now knowing this, let's dive in. And this topic is so deep, and it's such a deep passion of mine that seriously, we could go on for a year, and I could just blow you guys' minds for the next year and completely transform your entire worlds. And I didn't spend enough time to actually get inspired on what to do next with this, because this topic is so critical for every one of you. So I considered, do I need to sell or offer a relationships training series separate from this, where we deep dive and resolve all this stuff? And I didn't create enough time and space to get clarity on that. I don't know what to offer, what I'm doing with that, but we can open dialogue about that and see what wants to happen in the future. But what I'm telling you guys is, seriously, you're trying to do brain surgery, and your life and your success in all aspects of your life depend on it, and you're trying to do it without going to medical school. That's what's happening here with your relationships. So we definitely want to be in a conversation on one level or another about how do we enhance and deepen your ability to do this. Okay, so let's dive in and cover as much as we can while we're at it. I'm going to screen share in just a moment here. I'm going to pull up and identify some of the handouts that I've got ready so that I can best empower you guys. Okay, so screen sharing now. Okay, this one, listening worksheet.
Looks good.
Great, thank you. So look at these questions. With who do you not listen consciously? So like in the past, I didn't know how to, or maybe that's not even true. I chose not to listen to my mom consciously. I had too many judgments and stories about her, and my own resistance and pain and traumas and whatever. When she spoke, I blocked her out and didn't listen. And I listened through listening filters. Oh, I'm gonna backtrack a minute, and I want to show you a different handout first. It might take me a few tries here to identify the one that I'm looking for. It's called listening filters. I knew this was going to be a challenge when I pulled up so many sheets, but I Again, didn't create plenty of time and space. So this is feedback, guys. It's all feedback. When I don't create the time and space, then now I'm telling you, oh, have technology issues. Now, oh, I'm unorganized about these sheets. What's the feedback? If I just blame it on the circumstance, then nothing changes. If I look at the feedback and say, okay, how am I organizing myself to create this and take responsibility for the result, then I can change it. So the way I'm created this was basically being a hero, taking too many calls today, attempting to help too many people, rather than creating the time and space to assist people or to prep for this call and have all this handled. So I'm pulling up this other one, listening filters. The way this works is we listen not to listen. We tend to listen to fix. Like, so we're listening with this ear about what they're saying that's wrong and how we can come back with a retaliation and give them some brilliant advice to show how smart we are and how to fix the problem. This will destroy marriages and relationships and connections and business partnerships and coaching relationships and friendships faster than anything you can think of. Think you're a know-it-all, think you're smart, always coming back, listening to fix versus just listening. Especially men. Men, many times when women speak, they just want to be heard. And most of the time, men are wired to, if we're talking, it's so that we can find a problem and generate a solution. So we're wired, okay, here's what I'm hearing, this is what you need to do, here's what you need to do this, do this, do this. And the women leave there feeling like, you jerk, you didn't even listen. And the men are like, what the crap, I'm just trying to help. And so we get into this drama because of these filters. And if you look at this diagram, he says, if you weren't so critical, things would work better. And she's saying, I can't stand your being late to meetings and filing reports. And behind the scenes, what's she saying? She's saying, I'm afraid of not being important to you. And what he's really saying is, I'm afraid of not getting your approval. So she said, I can't stand you being late to meetings and filing reports. And what he heard is, you're inadequate. I don't approve of you. So what's wrong with you? That's what he heard. And what she was really saying is, I was feeling scared, as if I'm not important because you keep showing up late, and I'm making up the story that means that I'm not important to you. And so we listen through these filters. We listen to control, we listen to fix. So we listen to control means I'm listening through a filter of how can I respond in such a way to manipulate the situation and get the outcome that I want, versus how can I just be present with this person, create connection, listen and love and be connected, versus how to retaliate with an outcome, a strategy or technique to get an outcome that I desire versus just being. The next one is to confirm my point of view. See? I knew it. This is proof about what I've been saying, that you don't love me, that you don't care about me, that you don't approve of me, that you whatever. The next one, to hear whether I'm liked or not. So I'm just listening to see if they like me versus really hearing them. So notice there's deeper underlying issues in every one of these. There are self-love issues, and deep healing work and transformation work is what sorts this out. But because we're so caught up in our drama game within ourselves, it's affecting every conversation we have. The next filter is to make a run for the victim position. Do you realize? So none of us want to be a victim. If I asked any one of you, who here is a victim? Who here wants to claim the victim position and brag, I'm a victim, I'm the biggest victim? No conscious person wants to be the victim. If you have any level of consciousness whatsoever, you're like, no, I'm not the victim, I'm a creator. And now, I had a sales conversation the other day where the guy refused. He's like, no, I'm always a creator. I gave up my victimhood. I'm like, okay, I've been working on this for like 20 years now, and I still catch myself showing up as a victim every day in one form or another. And somehow you've alleviated victimhood completely out of your psyche by reading a book? Interesting. So you look at this, it says, make a run for the victim position. So here's what I was going to share. Every time you or anyone else in the entire world is engaged in an argument, you are racing for the victim position. Let me say this again in another way. If you get in an argument, you are trying to prove that you are a victim. Let me say this another way. Every argument you engage in of any form, whether in your mind or with someone else, anybody else, of any form, whether business, romantic, or any form of relationship, or in your head or externally outside with somebody or something else, if you're in an argument, you are trying to prove that you are a victim. And you may not fully get that yet, but be with it. I promise you, it's true every time. So the next filter is, I'm listening to see if I have your approval. The next one, I'm listening to avoid being dominated. The next one, I'm listening to avoid conflict. Meaning I'm thinking of what can I do to not rock the boat and show up in such a way that we won't have any conflict here. I used to be a master at this. It nearly destroyed my entire life, literally. My learning to love myself and become willing to face into conflict, to stand for the truth and integrity, and all of that has been a critical part of the journey. The last filter on this list is listening to be right. Racing to try to prove that I'm right. Rather than being rich or being happy, I'm listening and conversing simply to prove that I'm right. Okay, so with that being said, boy, I get to choose what to share and what not to share. Okay, so we're going to go back to this worksheet, listening worksheet. Ask yourself these questions. With who do I not listen consciously? What is your most familiar listening filter? And it's not just one person that you don't listen consciously to. Who all do you not listen consciously to? Make a list. Then what is your most familiar listening filter? Under stress, what listening filters emerge? And what gets in the way of you listening consciously? It might just be that you don't know how. For most of you, that's the case. And I'll add this. For those who don't know what an aphrodisiac is something that is basically makes you horny or turned on or desire sex. The number one most powerful aphrodisiac in the world is to listen. You help a person feel heard, and they will be most likely to want to be turned on and ignited and want to engage in sexual activity with you by simply listening. It's better, more effective than anything you can buy or do is to be present, create connection through listening. The number one skill you can possibly teach in all of relationships is listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you wanted to master relationship, master listening. Beyond your filters, beyond your stories, beyond your traumas, beyond your victimhood, beyond trying to be liked and approved of and all this other stuff, just listening and connecting and meeting that person where they are from a space of love and integrity. So here's a list of commitments that can help empower you in your relationships. 1, I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you free of criticism. I'm going to move through these quickly. If it's too quick, you can come back and pause the video and write these down or explore them further or post questions on the board. I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you free of criticism. I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you free of evaluating either of us, i.e. appraising, determining the worth of, etc. Number 3, I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you free of judging either of us as right or wrong, good or bad, smart or stupid. Number 4, I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you free of comparing us to each other or to anyone else. Number 5, I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you free of controlling the feelings, energies, or actions of either of us. I think I'm on number 6. I commit to listening carefully enough that I can relate the content of what you have said without adding my point of view to it. Number 7, I commit to listening to the feelings and wants embedded in your communication. Number 7, I commit to listening in such a way that our mutual creativity is facilitated. Number 8, I commit to speaking and listening to myself and you with appreciation. The definition of appreciation is to be sensitively aware of and or to focus on the positive qualities and attributes of. So there was a marriage therapist who identified that couples who had a 5-to-1 appreciation versus complaint ratio almost always succeeded in creating happy, successful, lasting, loving relationships. And those who had the opposite ratio, 5 complaints to every 1 appreciation, always ended either unhappy and still together or divorced, and most of the time divorced. So if you turn one thing around only, just like learn to listen, I guess I'm telling you 2 things. Learn to listen, truly listen, and just be with the person and love them as they are. And appreciation. Appreciate, become a master listener, a master appreciator. If you just change the ratio that you alleviated all blame, all attack, all criticism, and stop blaming them altogether for any form of your happiness, stopped expecting anything from them. The quote that I like best around this is, expect nothing, appreciate everything. Expect nothing, appreciate everything. When you move to this space of appreciation, it brings out a whole nother part of your spouse, your partner, the people you relate with. I mean, think about the insanity of our approach, which is, I don't like the way you're showing up, so I figured if I nagged you enough, controlled you enough, blamed you enough, criticized you enough, attacked you enough, and hurled negativity and projections on you enough, that would make you want to be nicer to me, love me, fill my love tank, do all these things that I'm unwilling to do for myself. I don't love myself, so I'm expecting you to do it for me, and when you don't, I'm going to turn and criticize, attack, blame, justify, defend, critique, all this negativity, and somehow I'm expecting that to turn you into wanting to love me and serve me and connect with me? Is that not insanity? So here's a little language thing. It's blame talk versus conscious heart talk. What we tend to say when we're unconscious is, you're not listening to me. And if we were to change that over to conscious heart talk and be conscious about how we're communicating, we would say, rather than saying, you're not listening to me, we would say, I wonder how I can communicate effectively. Does that sound like responsibility versus blame? And I want you to look at the word responsibility, not as I'm to blame, but the ability to respond. My ability to respond to the situation. The result I'm seeing is I'm not feeling heard, and rather than blaming you and making out that I'm the victim that you're not listening to, I'm going to take 100% responsibility, and rather than believing I'm a victim, I'm going to take that responsibility as a creator and say, how can I communicate more effectively in a way that actually works versus blaming you, saying you're not listening. The next one is, you're not understanding what I'm saying, is the unconscious term of victim blame. To, I commit to communicating clearly. You might add to that, I commit to communicating clearly in a way that lands. Unconscious, we might say, you always criticize me, which can then be transferred over in conscious communication to, I commit to seeing you as my ally. So instead of seeing it as you always criticize me and seeing that I'm not approved of and I'm not enough and I'm not worthy and I'm fundamentally flawed and all this other crap that I'm projecting onto my partner, I could go into, thank you for the feedback. I see you as my ally, helping me to see the unloved parts of myself and bring love to those and helping me to see what I'm doing that's not working. Thank you for that feedback. I commit to seeing you as my ally. Thank you. The next one, you don't do what you say you're going to do. Rather than blaming them and attacking them and utilizing them as an excuse to ruin my day and upset my life, I might choose to be happy, take responsibility, stop blaming them and say, I wonder how I can generate reliable agreements. The next one, I'm mad at you for leaving the toilet seat up or down or the toothpaste cap off or your clothes all over the floor or whatever other thing you tend to project your anger on and blame them for and make them responsible for your happiness and well-being to, I'm mad. So the conscious version would be, I notice I'm feeling angry right now. And I'm focusing my anger on, whatever the hell it is, the toilet seat, the toothpaste, the clothes, the whatever. And then we could ask a question like, I wonder what I'm really angry about, versus just projecting it onto you and this circumstance and not learning from the situation. I'm moving from victimhood to conscious creator, so I'm going to take responsibility and ownership and get curious about what I can do to turn this around and create the result that I actually want, instead of repeating the unconscious cycle, being caught in that dream or that nightmare and not doing anything about it. The next one, why are they doing this to me? Notice the victim in the question. Shift that from victim and blame, so it's kind of this victim-villain mood of poor me. Every one of these blame talks is I'm the victim, but I'm blaming you. So I'm the victim, but I'm turning around and being the villain and waiting for you to be the hero to save me because I'm not willing to take responsibility for my own love, my own well-being, my own peace, my own happiness, my own success, my own results. I want to blame you and be right and get an adrenaline rush versus creating what I really want and being happy. So rather than why are they doing this to me, I can consciously choose how am I setting it up so that this is happening. The next one might be, why did he or she leave me? Again, same question. How am I setting this up so that it's happening? How did I create this? What can I learn from this? Next question or statement when we're in the blame cycle is, how could you have treated me like that? Again, victim-villain move. Shift that over to creativity and wonder and responsibility and conscious creativity, being a conscious creator, and you might ask, I wonder what I can learn from this. Notice that the left-hand column is always blame and attack and criticism and someone else is responsible. The right-hand column is always I'm responsible for my results and my creations and what's happening in my world. What's actually happening? How is it that I'm setting this up to be this way? Shifting into wonder and curiosity about how I can create what I really want. Asking a wonder question to do that. Knocking and having the door be open, asking and receiving an answer, asking for the answer and receiving the answer, and creating a different result because I'm taking responsibility, which gives me power. As long as I'm blaming anybody or anything outside of myself, I never have any power to shift anything. I just lie victim to the same shit happening over and over and over again in my world. Or I can take responsibility, claim back the power, and create what I really most want. The next one, why were you flirting all night with so-and-so or at the party or whatever? To the wonder question or the wonder or the responsibility of the conscious heart talk would be, I got scared. I noticed I felt scared and sad when I saw you talking in the corner. And then I could get curious and see, what was I scared and sad about? And where did that come from? And what original trauma did I make up my stories around that? And how did I feed into that and get stuck in my own drift and make up stories about that? Our relationship might be totally solid, but I'm so caught in justifying and defending my limitations and my past childhood traumas and relationship traumas that I've sent myself into total scarcity and lack and fear and disconnect, and then turned around and attacked you and created drama and actually contributed to you maybe actually wanting to flirt with someone else and go do something else because I'm so damn miserable to relate with, because I won't take responsibility and I'm constantly nagging and projecting and blaming and attacking and criticizing. No wonder why you want to go talk to someone else. It sure as hell must be funner than talking to my miserable ass. Next blame talk is, you never talk to me about your feelings. Conscious heart talk would be, I wonder what feelings I'm withholding from you. I notice I'm focusing on your withholding. See, so if you actually ask that question, you might discover, oh, I notice I feel scared and sad when I believe that you're not talking to me about your feelings. And what I would most want would be to know what you're feeling and experiencing, because what I most want is to be able to connect with you on a deeper level. And I just notice I'm feeling scared and sad as I'm focusing on what I believe to be your withholding. Boom, now we can create something amazing. I can create that connection I want versus fighting with you and getting an adrenaline rush, which is just literally the people, when we do drama, it's to get a hit of adrenaline. We are literally adrenaline junkies, and every argument you ever have gives you a shot of adrenaline, and it's incredibly addictive. And that's what keeps you stuck in your cycles and your patterns. So you might also say, you're spending too much money from the blame square. You're spending too much money. Shift that over to wonder is, I notice I'm feeling scared looking at these bills, and I'm wondering, how can we generate plenty of money to pay for all of the things that we want and need? That gives you power to create a solution versus just to fight in an adrenaline rush. The final one, you never touch me unless you want sex. Great blame talk. No responsibility there. Or take responsibility, create a shift and say, I'm feeling hungry for more touch. I want to find a way for us to have more non-sexual touch. That way we can create a result that we actually want. So there's so much more. We have actually touched the tip of the iceberg. And we've shared some incredibly important and invaluable information with you today. And I know that you're all going to take some tremendous value from this and take your relationships to new levels with yourself, with your creator, with your loved ones. And I'm honored to share this with each of you. Invite everyone to take a few breaths. Notice what you notice. What are you feeling right now? Notice how you're relating with yourself right now. Do you have some tension going on? Do you have some aliveness and excitement going on? Likely for many of you both, like, holy crap, how have I been relating? Holy crap, maybe you're judging yourself for what you've been doing in the past and having some ahas, like, no wonder why it's been so hard. Holy cow, I've created all this drama and chaos. wow, wow, wow. Some of you might just be excited, like, wow, this is amazing. Now there's so much more I can create knowing this. And information is tremendous. It's incredibly powerful and empowering. It has the first key to helping us face what is and make some new choices and create new results. It's a tremendous key. And information alone will never do it. Reading about how to swim doesn't give you the experience of swimming. Reading about gardening doesn't allow you to have a bumper crop. Reading about enlightenment doesn't bring you enlightenment. Hearing me talk about enlightenment and relationships will not fully liberate you in your relationships. It will take you a few steps further. Ultimately, you get to embody and implement and experience a deeper level of healing and transformation within yourself, learning to fully love yourself so you can be that whole person. And for those of you out there who are single, wanting to attract the ideal relationship in your world, the key is to vibrate. See, in life we don't get what we want, we get what we are, we get what we vibrate. So if you're single and wanting to create an epic relationship, become that epic person that you want, and you will automatically attract that epic person in your world. If you're married and you're not experiencing the level of relationship that you want, clean up your shit and do the work and learn to fully love yourself and vibrate on that level, and you will automatically bring that out in your partner, or your partner will choose to move on and vibrate at their level, and you will move forward. So whatever the desired outcome is, the only choice you have to affect that outcome is to do what's needed and necessary in here, which is a multi-layered, multi-tiered journey. It's attending trainings, listening to books, getting coaching, and healing in every way possible. So my assignments to you are: continue to show up in the group, being authentic, posting, sharing, being you, being transparent. Share in the group your biggest takeaways from this call. Teach what you learned today to someone that you love. Turn around and teach it as soon as possible to someone that you love, a spouse, a child, a friend, a lover, partner, a business partner. Teach it. Teach everything you can that you learned today to someone else, because in the teaching you will learn it substantially more deeply. For those of you who gain massive value out of today's training and you want more, reach out to me in some form or another. Let me know. If you're like, hey man, we've got to do a relationship series, let me know. If we get a big enough response, I'll put something together. If you're participating in Limitless Legion or any of my free content and you want to take stuff to the next level, reach out, private message me. You want to be in a cost-effective mastermind group, or some of my high-end mastermind groups, or some of my high-end one-on-one coaching, or attend a live event and really go next level on this stuff, reach out. Let me know. If you're not ready for that, keep just showing up fully in Limitless Legion and the free stuff, engaging, being full you, expressing full out, being you, taking on the challenges, sharing your takeaways, insights, asking questions, engaging, participating in the trainings. Progress report on the group. We've had another 60 or 70, 60-something new members again this week. Doing amazing. You guys are doing great. Thank you for all your efforts to reach out, share the truth, share the love, empower more, assist others, encourage you to keep it up. Think of who else each week. Who else? Who else? Who's next? Who wants to be served and liberated next? Keep following that intuition and guidance. Encourage you to keep your videos short in the group. We got a lot of content, very active forum. So keep your posts, as direct and to the point as possible, and your videos, just get in, get out, make it just boom, pure concentrated gold in the shortest, purest version possible. And just thank you, everybody. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being real. Thank you for sharing yourselves. What we've got here is magical. It's amazing. I'm so grateful to see everyone coming alive and breaking through and continuing to do the work. And with that, I want to sign off. Create an amazing rest of the day. Create a limitless day. Create a limitless life. We'll see you on the forum, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.